Aaron Judge is a better version of Brock Lesnar.
What is something you love as much as the Charmin Bears love wiping?
As an opposing fan, you'd probably see his face and want to sock him between your cracks.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Losses Above Replacement podcast from your overlords. We're not Dodgers fans, but we might as well all be Dodger fans as we have all signed massive AAV contracts. Alex is signed for $623 million annually. Mac is signed for $67 million annually, and I is signed for $69 million annually. All of our proceeds do go to the Braves Foundation, though, so we don't actually get paid anything. How are you guys doing?
I removed Splash for the 6-7 joke. We're not having that.
That was subpar.
That was subpar.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, the fact that we don't only the Braves get to actually benefit from this. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the Atlanta Braves Foundation. We always every opposing fan base is wondering what in the world goes on there.
I don't know.
But I am freezing cold. It is. Supposedly, we're getting a snowstorm this weekend. I'm not looking forward to that necessarily. The Mets made moves though, so things are going all right. My basketball team's playing poorly, but my other basketball team lost to Boston College this weekend. So yeah, things are going up and down, whatever. But yeah, it's same old.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it's cold here too. I'll say that much. Sorry, I was looking at my phone. I'm getting the podcast ready to send out. But yeah, it's been weird over here because we are having a good time here. But yeah, it is cold. But also the Seahawks are playing really well, and this Sunday have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. So yay and very yay on that front here. Although I gotta be honest here, Jerry DiPoto has been very, very quiet. Whenever he's like a toddler, right? When they're quiet, that's when you should be the most worried. Here, any parent knows exactly what I'm talking about.
All right. I did not expect you to compare your Pobo to a toddler, but here we are. Maybe a cat.
I mean it in all respect.
I sometimes get concerned when my cats aren't. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it makes sense that you don't. It's kind of ominous, you know. You could always trade for Jose Altuve. I hear the Mariners have an opening at second base.
No,
for those,
no.
For those hardcore fans that are wondering, Splash, where's the second baseman list in your YouTube title or your podcast title? We're breaking tradition. We are not recording that in our primary spot. We will record that at a different time, aka later in this evening. But we have so much breaking news to get to. The Mets, the Dodgers, Hall of Fame news. Ranger Suarez is apparently not Ranger Suarez anymore. That's as far as I'm going to go into that. But we begin with the news that shook the airwaves. Former Astro, former Cub, Kyle Tucker, right fielder, heads to Chavez Ravine on a 4-year, $240 million contract. That's, for those counting at home, $60 million annually. There are some deferrals, so the present value is about $57 million. And for those Mets fans out there, that beats out Juan Soto by about $6 million a year. It beats out Shohei Ohtani's contract by about $15 million a year with all the deferrals. So, fellas, react. Kyle Tucker is the highest paid player annually in the history of baseball.
Not worth it. Legitimately, just is not worth it. Here, I know I'm gonna probably be, the bad guy here on all this, but you're paying someone $60 million a year. $60 million a year, and he is not even a top 5 outfielder. Like, let's be real here. There's a lot of other outfielders that are better than him, whether it be offensively, defensively. Don't get me wrong. Kyle Tucker is very, very good at baseball. He is a very good baseball player, and he's one of the reasons why the Cubs were good last year. But you know what he's not? Shohei Ohtani. You know what he's not here? Juan Soto. You know what he's not? Julio Rodriguez. There are a lot of players here that are just outright better than him that he is making a lot more money than. Julio is not even making $20 million a year here. And now you have the one Mr. Kyle Tucker making 60. Funny enough, it's with deferrals here. So then again, it's like what, 35 million a year, something like that, and then deferred for later. I don't know the exact number.
There's only 30 million of it's deferred, so it's 210 over 4 years. Now there are opt-outs. He can opt out after the 27 season and after the 28 season if we have those seasons. Thank you, Dodgers. But I digress.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So then at that point, right, like, why are we doing this here? Like, I understand that he is honestly the biggest free agent in this year's free agent class, but that doesn't mean that he's worth more than all these other players here. And when I saw that price tag here, my jaw dropped, not just seeing that he was signing with the Evil Empire, but seeing that he was signing for that much money. That is absolutely absurd. Here, you take a look at how good of a player he is, and yeah, he has a championship. A couple of them, I think. No, just one.
Just one, yeah.
Yeah. And wonder when that happened. But
it was not the trash can one, though.
I know it was not the trash can year, but for the team, I still won't say. But since then, again, has one championship, which, okay, you know what? Good for him. He has proven that he is a valuable asset on any team that he's on. Valuable asset does not mean $60 million a year. I am sorry, but this is another move by the Dodgers just flexing on people. And honestly, you know what? Rightfully so. They have the money because of all the money that Shohei Ohtani is bringing in, as well as all the merchandising and also the World Series wins, plural. He had himself a good year last year, a 4.6 WAR, right? Baseball Reference WAR, but he's also never broken 5 WAR in a season here. So, let's see who has done that multiple times. Oh, guess what? Julio Rodriguez. I know I'm bringing him back to the Mariners here, but that just should kind of tell you a little bit here about why I'm frustrated with this here. And why I honestly think that this is just not a great deal overall here. Kyle Tucker is not a 5 WAR player often. Like, he's never done it in his career. Do I think he can do it with the Dodgers? Absolutely. Because he is going to now also have all the supporting cast around him here. It looks like he does have 2 5 WAR seasons. So, okay, I will retract that statement. 3. I will retract the statement. Regardless, though, still, he is not the player that money is worth here at this point. To be fair, I don't think there really is a player outside of Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge that's worth that amount of money here. But, I mean, this is just another example of the Dodgers showing that, hey, we have all the money. We're willing to spend all the money. So here's all the players. Boom. It's just another add to the lineup here of this incredible ball club.
So, to your point, Alex, I have a list for you guys. Since 2021, there are 49 players in Major League Baseball that have had a season with 5.6 baseball reference WAR. Kyle Tucker is not on the list. Here are some guys that are on the list. Judge, 4 times. Jose Ramirez, 4 times. Okay. Some guys that have done it 3 times. Ohtani, Lindor, Olsen, Riley. Hasn't done it in a couple of years, but Riley's up there. Juan Soto. A couple guys have done it twice. Seager, Witt, Henderson, Betts, Freeman, Julio, Goldschmidt, Guerrero, Tatis, and plenty of guys have done it once. Michael Garcia, PCA, Wyatt Langford, Jeremy Pena, Cal Raleigh, Bryce Turang, Jarren Duran, Ronald Acuna, Xander Bogaerts, Tommy Edman, Stephen Kwan, Cedric Mullins, Carlos Correa. So, yes, the last 5 years, Kyle Tucker has been remarkably consistent, and I will give him credit. In 2024, he was playing like an MVP for half of a season, and he got hurt. I don't know if it's the Astros to blame for the whole snafu with him not coming back. It felt like honestly, it felt like John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. That's exactly what it felt like. It's like, oh yeah, he'll be back next week, or he'll be back in a couple weeks, or oh, he'll be back there. And then all of a sudden he's out for the rest of the season. I don't know. So I'll give him credit. He played like an MVP. It reminded me a lot of 2021 Ronald, but there's a certain level to this. And I would compare it in some ways to the Dak Prescott contract, that sometimes the highest paid player, it's just an artifact of being the next player that comes to market. So Alex, you mentioned Julio. I have an MVP in right field on my team in Ronald. They didn't get a chance to go to free agency like Kyle Tucker did, or like Juan Soto did, or like Shohei Ohtani did. They signed extensions with their team. So they end up in a different camp. Obviously, if Acuna hit the open market and Julio hit the open market, they'd be worth even more money than they made in their initial contracts. That said, at least Dak Prescott finished second in MVP voting one year. Like Kyle Tucker's best season is a half season in 2024. Okay, great. Last year he was very good, and then got banged up again and was fine in the second half, I guess. Contributed to a team that went to the playoffs. But I'll scroll over here. He's never finished higher than fifth in MVP voting. Brandon Crawford finished fourth back in 2021. Matt Olson finished fourth 1 year. Kyle Schwarber finished second last year. Marcelo Ozuna finished fourth in 2024. Marcus Semien in this stretch has finished third twice, and let's just say I'm not going to have him in my top 5 second baseman when we get to that in the next segment. Kyle Tucker is a good player. He will not be in my top 5 right fielders list. He is not a top 2 right fielder in his own division behind Tatis and Corbin Carroll. He's a really good player. $60 million, maybe not. And the most damning part of it is that it doesn't matter to the Dodgers if Kyle Tucker is good or not. He is replacing Michael Conforto, basically. Conforto was atrocious, and the Dodgers still won the World Series. And I know it was touch and go at points, and they probably should have lost Game 7 to the Blue Jays. And if Orion Kerkering had 2 brain cells in that moment and he throws to first base, the Phillies have a 50-50 shot to force Game 5 back at the bank. And who knows what happens in that game. But Michael Conforto was horrendous with the Dodgers, and it didn't matter in the end. And Kyle Tucker is a $60 million player who doesn't really matter if he's good. Does it matter if he puts up 5 or 6 wins? No. If he's just average, that's fine. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say one thing, which is that I, from the start, thought because of the year Tucker had, it was pretty disappointing by his standards because he had that hand injury and he had an awkward 6-week stretch where he didn't hit a home run. I had a feeling the whole time he was going to get either a short-term deal with high AAV like he did, from what he got from the Dodgers, or he was going to get like a 7-year deal, but with an opt-out after year 3. And I was a little uncomfortable with the lack of reporting around the Dodgers because the whole focus, at least in the days leading up to him signing, all on the Mets and Blue Jays. They just kept talking about the Mets had offered $50 million annually or something like that. And, the Blue Jays had given him a long-term offer. And, I remember I put my phone down to charge for a little bit. I got up to do something in my apartment. I came back to my phone 5 minutes later, and he signed with the Dodgers. 4 years and $240 million. That's the thing is, I remember one of my co-editors was like, all right, watch him take like a discount from the Dodgers just to go to the Dodgers. And I see the contract, 4 years and $240 million. Here's the crazy thing is that the offer that the Mets gave him was 4 years, $220 million, but $75 million signing bonus, $60 million each of the first 2 years. Opt-outs after years 2 and 3. So regardless, he was going to get some ridiculous amount of money by average annual value. And to your guys' point, he's not a guy worth that much money. I thought, all right, if he had taken the Blue Jays offer, 10 years, $350 million, I think $35 million annually is perfectly reasonable for a guy like him. Yet on Fangraphs, he's never eclipsed 5 WAR. But that's still, I'm pretty sure the equation is about one WAR is around $8 million in worth. So he would be worth between $30 and $40 million annually, which I think is reasonable. He's a strong player. He just turned 29. I think he still has some good years ahead of him. But like Splash was saying, it's when you're trying, or when you're getting paid like a superstar, you're kind of taking the easy way out here because you are not the number one star on your team. All right. If he went to the Blue Jays, heck, honestly, I don't even know if he'd be the number one star on the Blue Jays. I think maybe he would be, he would either be number one or he'd be number two behind Guerrero in Toronto. And XYZ Balling has a good question. Where would you rank Tucker among the Dodgers? Well, he's behind Shohei. That's for sure. I would argue he's probably behind Betts still. I know that Betts' offense took a bit of a dip, but he did look better in the second half. And he plays much better defense at a more premium position. And honestly, I'd put him either third or fourth, depending on where you put Freddie Freeman. But that's the thing, is that he gets to hide behind other superstars in LA. And it seems like he, the whole time, had the Dodgers on his mind. You know, he got that offer from the Mets and went to the Dodgers and say, hey, this is what they're offering. Give me something better and I'll sign with you guys. It's clear he did not have a plan to go back to the Mets or the Blue Jays for another offer. He wanted to join the Dodgers. And the thing is, I can't even compare this to Kevin Durant joining the Warriors because Kevin Durant won an MVP in Oklahoma City. Kyle Tucker's never won an MVP. All right, Kyle Tucker has accolades to him, but none of them are an MVP. I'd say there was a good one from, again, one of my co-editors at Mets Mirai said, it's more like if like DeMar DeRozan had joined the Warriors, or like a guy who's a decent one option, but not like a true superstar. That's kind of what it is. So, you know,
like Boogie Cousins?
Yeah, maybe Boogie Cousins, who I know did join the Warriors eventually, or maybe I don't know if LaMarcus Aldridge would be a good comparison. He did join a very good Spurs team at one point, but you know, I say that you would rather overpay an AAV compared to length of contract, but I think this is a massive overpay. I think if any other team did this, they'd be heavily criticized because it'd be like, all right, what the heck are you doing? But because it's the Dodgers can get away with this. That's the thing. And unfortunately, we're going to get to this point where we may have a lockout. It sucks, but you know, we're going to get to a point where, you know, one side may want a salary cap and one may not. And, you know, I do worry, but yeah, maybe this is so many of these contracts this offseason, short-term, high AAV, and this is just another one of them. I just think $60 million is a lot to give to a guy like Kyle Tucker, who is a good player, very good player, but I wouldn't say he's a superstar.
Right. I want to bring up one quick point here, just because I know I'm going to forget it here, and that is that I'm going to have a little bit of pushback on you on the idea of he took the easy way out signing with the Dodgers here. If his goal was to win a ring, then that's what he did here. He signed with a team where you don't necessarily need to be the number one here to win a ring. I mean, even Tom Brady, right, with the Patriots here, took pay cut after pay cut to make sure that he had good talent around him here. And I'm not going to say that's what happened here, because obviously not looking at that contract, but he wanted to be surrounded by the best talent. And that's exactly what he's getting. He is getting surrounded by arguably the best offense in Major League Baseball here on this. All right. Sorry, Splash. I sorry to interrupt you. I just need to get that out here.
No, I get it. I'm going to give you a proposition. We have an impromptu question of the day.
Let's go.
Okay.
All right. More likely outcome in 2026. Kyle Tucker leads the Dodgers in WAR, either Baseball Reference or Fangraphs, or he's not in the top 5 on the Dodgers in WAR. Injury, we'll just say that if it's an injury, we'll wash it. It doesn't count.
I will answer this question first. It is a lot more likely that he will not be in the top 5, I think. Like, extremely so, in fact, here. Because I kind of want to also give another question for XYZ Ball in here on where would you guys rank Tucker among the Dodgers here? Are we also including pitchers?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, because on top of it, then now you have Yamamoto who easily is better than, I would say, for positional value here. Edwin Diaz is a better closer than he is as a right fielder here for value on that front of it. And at that point, you're barely getting the top 5 here. And that's not even looking at the rest of the rotation for the Dodgers here. And also, you're also not accounting for Freddie Freeman, who will apparently be good at baseball into the year of our Lord 3026 here. So, legitimately, you take a look at the team here, and he just kind of fits in, but he kind of disappears into the crowd, kind of like a wallflower here.
Yeah, he's kind of like
good.
Michael Conforto.
Yeah, he's very good. He's better than Michael Conforto. Let's be real here for a sec, please. But he's good.
I mean, I can pull up Michael Conforto's baseball reference page. It's something, right, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, no, I like Michael Conforto, but
I liked Michael Conforto a lot when he was a Met.
He had a 154 OPS plus season in the COVID year.
Yeah, he was an all-star in 2017. He was very good, and then he busted his shoulder swinging a bat.
Dude, remember Kyle Lewis won Rookie of the Year anyway?
Yeah.
2020, great year. But no, that's what I'm saying here is that overall here, he is not in the top 5 on his own team. He really is not. I don't think there is even a reasonable chance, barring injury, that he is in that top. It's like that he is at the number 1, 2, potentially. Like, don't get me wrong, he could explode and maybe be 3rd on that, but you're still talking about someone that is not an MVP. He's not the most valuable player on his own team, is not the most valuable player at his position in that division, even like you brought up your Splash. It is not an the more and more you look at it's like one of those pictures you see on social media here where the picture gets worse and worse the more you look at it. The more and more you think about this Kyle Tucker deal, the less and less it makes sense, unless you just remember the one overarching part of all of this, and that is that the Dodgers have the money, so they're gonna spend the money. Legitimately, that's it. Because there is not a better free agent on the market here. There has not been a better free agent on the market this year. Here, free agent wise here. I think the closest, who's the closest to him? Like Diaz at value level, maybe?
I mean, Bichette, Bellinger.
Bellinger, yes. Bichette, I have strong about here, just the sole part of he can be either the best player on the planet or Sean Figgins. There really is no in between for him.
So I'm gonna agree with Alex on the answer to the question though, because there's no way he outproduces Shohei, first of all, especially if Shohei is pitching. I could see Will Smith outproducing him. I could see Mookie Betts doing so. Yoshi Yamamoto, Freddie Freeman, even. I mean, if Tyler Glasnow stays healthy, which big if there, he's never qualified for the ERA title, but that's another guy I could see outproduce. Blake Snell. Like there's so many guys on that Dodgers roster that I think can outproduce him, at least in terms of WAR. So I think that's far more likely than him outproducing anyone, especially like Shohei Ohtani is going to lead, and I don't see Tucker getting anywhere close to him.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think Tucker could finish second. I don't think he surpasses Shohei barring injury. But Betts, the offense has slipped. Freddie plays first, which is even lower down the defensive spectrum than Tucker is. And Tucker is a good base runner. And in theory, he's solid enough defensively. So he's not like a Soto or Acuna accruing massive negative value. And right, he should be fine theoretically. I know his defensive metrics took a bit of a hit, but maybe playing in LA is a little bit easier than playing at Wrigley Field. So who knows? I think there's a path for him to finish second. Will Smith, not a very good defensive catcher. Also, he's a catcher. I don't know how many plate appearances he's going to get. And then the pitchers, I don't know how many of them are going to qualify for the ERA title. Like, would I take Yamamoto in a vacuum? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know if he's going to throw enough innings to catch Tucker. If Tucker has a 4 or a 5 win season, we'll call it 4.5. We'll call it, because he's been around that range the last few seasons. I'm not 100% sure Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, Ohtani as a pitcher, etc., get to 4 or 5 wins. or 4 or 5 WAR. I think there's a perfectly reasonable chance they finish with like 3.9 in 142 and 2/3 innings, because the Dodgers, they're not playing in the regular season like it matters. For them, that's the tune-up. That's their spring training. It's all summer long, all fall long. It's okay. Let's iron out the order. Are we going to bat Tucker and Freddie back to back? Are we going to bat Tucker and Ohtani back to back? Or is it going to be like a 1-3-5 thing? Does it even matter? Maybe it matters against the Scoobles of the world, and they don't have to worry about facing Snell, but the Scoobles and Crochets and the Sales, right? And the Sanchez's, maybe it matters against them, but against righties, it doesn't matter. So I could see a path for Tucker finishing second, but definitely not first. There's probably a better chance he finishes outside the top 10 on the Dodgers than number 1.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Is also like top 5 is a lot. I don't see a world really where he can lead the lead the team in WAR. But I see how difficult it would be for him to be outside the top 5. It's just I was thinking off the top, raw talent wise. It's the thing is like this Dodgers pitching staff. I think is as the starting rotation at least is as talented as any team in the majors. But they staying healthy is like. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure in 2024 they didn't have a single pitcher other than Jack Flaherty, who they traded for, that qualified for the ERA title. I remember Yamamoto got hurt. Glasnow got hurt. Glasnow didn't even come back for the postseason. Kershaw got hurt. Like it's so like every year they have these injuries. So yeah. But I mean, God, I look at this Dodgers roster. It's just they've literally been playing. They've been playing MLB The Show franchise mode with ignored budgets on, and it just we keep saying that, but like now it's become even more apparent. Like Andrew Friedman plays with ignored budgets on.
Yeah, and that's something you can do when the Dodgers have a lot of factors at play that help them have a massive payroll. And you look at the other teams with massive payrolls: Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, Braves, Phillies, Cubs, in theory. Like there's reasons those clubs have massive payrolls, and a lot of those are, built-in infrastructure, and also those are good teams, right? So good team is going to generally have a higher payroll because you're paying better players, in theory, unless you're the Angels. And the Dodgers have the best of that because they have their own broadcasting, right? And the Yanks and Mets have their SNY and Yes deals. The Cubs have WGN or Marquee.
Yeah, it's Marquee now. Yeah.
Yeah. The Braves have the Battery, which isn't their TV network, but that's a revenue outside of quote unquote outside of baseball that's affiliated with the team owns, whatever. So having those extra revenue sources, and I don't know, the Dodgers do employ Shohei Ohtani, who, considering he's on a $700 million contract that is probably paid for itself already, if not very soon.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Like just those sort of built-in advantages help the Dodgers. And we can have a longer conversation about the salary cap, salary floor, yada, yada, yada. The Dodgers have a perfect blend of they hit on the two pieces they needed to hit on. I pulled up a comparison. I sent it in the group chat the other day. I compared Albert Pujols and Freddie Freeman, they're like 5 years heading into free agency, and their first 5 years or 4 years. Freddie's been in LA for 4 years now. Their first 4 years with the LA teams. The Dodgers made the right signing, right? And you look at Trout versus Mookie Betts, the years leading into the extension through now. The Dodgers signed the right guy, and the Dodgers hit on those two massive, massive pieces. The Angels did not. Other teams did not hit on their pieces, and the Angels whiffed on, with all due respect, whiffed on the Trout extension. They whiffed on Pujols. They whiffed on Josh Hamilton. Sorry.
CJ Wilson.
On Anthony Rendon. CJ Wilson was a bust. It's like every Angel is a bust. The Dodgers have that positive momentum of, well, Mookie hit, and they won the World Series his first year there.
And they got a huge extension on him.
Yeah, then you get a huge extension, and he plays like an MVP. In 2023, he's the runner-up and got every single runner-up vote, which is the only time that's ever happened. Then they hit on Freddie, and they win 2 World Series, and they hit on Ohtani is like the understatement of the year. It's like a walk-off grand slam to win a World Series.
Shout out to Freddie Freeman.
I was going to say, Freddie did that. Not win the World Series, but, win a World Series game.
And Yamamoto, they gave him the richest contract in the history of pitchers. He had never thrown a pitch in Major League Baseball, and that contract is probably paid for itself too.
Yeah, Josh Reddick let us know.
It's just almost miraculous how it reminds me a lot of the Warriors, how the cap spikes, and that helps them get Kevin Durant. This is a case of everything has fallen into place for the Dodgers, and like I said earlier, if Kyle Tucker busts, it doesn't really matter for the Dodgers. They're still going to make tons and tons of money. They're still going to probably have the number 1 revenue in the sport, even though their number 1 contract is a total bust. Like if Kyle Tucker got a gambling suspension tomorrow and the Dodgers still had to pay the $130 million because they do have to pay luxury tax money on this contract, they'd be fine, which is crazy. That's more than like half the league spends.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also, I just want to say, like, even looking at beyond just the contracts, I mean, some of the things that happened in the World Series this year, like in Game 6 when Aston Barger hit that double into the gap, and Justin Dean threw up his arms because the ball got stuck in there, and then the Blue Jays didn't score. Like the where Barger got doubled off second base to end the game, like stuff like that. You're like, dude, what pixie dust do they have or something? We used to talk about how like the Cardinals had Devil Magic and stuff. The Dodgers have that, but 50 times. Oh yeah, I guess the Dodgers do have Tommy Edman, but they also have like 50 times the amount of star power that those Cardinals ever did.
That's the thing, right? Like, I agree with a lot of your points, Splash, because look, I'm going to be real. You make a very good, compelling argument on this. The one thing I will say is it's a lot easier to hit on deals on players that have already succeeded. Like, do I agree? Like, okay, to kind of play a little bit off of it, players like Albert Pujols really succeeded well with the Angels. Mike Trout is still going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer here. Like, I don't think there's any doubt about that here. And for Josh Hamilton, that's just unfortunate. Like, that was not anything that had anything to do with his play. That's just him as a human being, which, again, really hope he just gets the help. But when you have players like Shohei Ohtani, who's already won an MVP, right, at that time, I'm in with the Angels.
He had won 2 with the Angels, right?
Oh, he did win with the Angels? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sorry,
21-23.
Yep. So he's already won 2 MVPs with the Angels. He has already cemented himself as arguably the best player in all of baseball, where we were debating him versus Judge, and now we don't have to do that anymore. And that's not an issue.
I'm not letting that one fly.
No, I meant it for like the AL MVPs and the NL MVPs.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. I do still think that Ohtani is better, but that's that hand motion. But oh, you're a bum. Anyway, like it's a lot easier to hit with players that have proven themselves not just being good, but being good in adversity as well here. And Ohtani had to come through a lot of adversity here. He had his big injury and he sucked for a little bit. Yeah, yes, he won Rookie of the Year, but afterwards he just messed here. And then immediately after that, I figured out what baseball is now. Destroys the game completely here. Like, and yeah, I also said the smartest thing the Dodgers did was give him that contract because they've already made the money. It feels like 10 times over.
Yeah, and another team that makes a lot of money and spends a lot of money is the New York Mets. Let's talk about their pivot after Kyle Tucker is robbed. Matt can probably describe it better. But then Steve Cohen, old Uncle Stevie, did not sleep. This man said, who do the Phillies want? Oh, they want Bo Bichette. He's going to play third for them. Their meeting went well, as if any meeting has ever gone poorly. All right, 3 years, $126 million, Bo Bichette. You've never played third base in your life? Oh, well, that's okay. You'll play third for us. David Stearns be damned. Go ahead, Mac. Tell us about Bo Bichette.
Yeah, I did not have this on my radar at all, but Will Salmon of The Athletic did report that, because people were saying, oh, this is a panic signing, yada, 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 but the Mets met with Bichette multiple times this offseason, like starting in November, so clearly he was already on their radar. I did write a free agent profile about him back earlier in the offseason. I didn't think there was a chance they were going to sign him. I knew that they were going to try to move on from Jeff McNeil, probably find a taker for Brandon Nimmo, which they did. And they did both those things. After they signed Jorge Polanco, I was like, all right, they probably don't have a chance at Bichette. Whatever. I'm not expecting anything there, but this is a big time get for the lineup. They needed a right-handed bat. They needed to add more depth to it. It makes the lineup longer, deeper. It's a good signing, I think, overall. Also, he hit 381 with men in scoring position this year. The Mets struggled mightily at various points of the season executing in those situations, and it drove the fan base insane. Plus, he had a 134 WRC plus this year, which is, if you wouldn't believe it, the best in his career. If he had stayed healthy through the end of the regular season, he probably exceeds 200 hits. He had 181 hits in 136 games. That's a lot. 184 led the majors, and that was Bobby Witt Jr., who played the full season. So, and when he came back, he could barely run because of his hamstring injury, but he was still pretty good. Went 8 for 23 with a homer in the World Series. So, I'm curious to see how he does at third base. I think playing shortstop helps. I know he wasn't great at shortstop, but I think this is good. And I think the sweetest part of this is that David Stearns stole him away from the Phillies. Because, if the Phillies get Bichette, all right, that lineup goes from, all right, they have the top 3 hitters in the lineup, and then it falls off to, all right, there's some depth here. You could spread them out a little bit, but it's huge, really. I mean, you listen to Phillies front office and media talk about it, and they're comparing it to the Lufthansa heist, which is obviously best portrayed in Goodfellas. Now, I don't necessarily think it is like the Lufthansa heist, but the fact that it's even being talked about like that, and you see the way the Phillies fans have reacted, that means it's a good move, I think. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm as a Mets fan, it's hard to complain about this. I know the AAV is hefty, and you can opt out after year 1 or year 2, but I think it's a player friendly contract, and for the team, I think it's a move they needed to make.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring up another interesting bit of this here, and that is because obviously, yes, the Mets I think scored big getting Bichette here. I think it's gonna really help the team, especially considering on the promise that was basically inadvertently made, saying, hey, we're gonna completely clean house and rebuild it in our own image here. That's what they're starting to do here. That's what they did by signing Polanco, now by getting Bichette, and a trade that we'll talk about a little bit later here. But what I want to bring up here, where does this leave the Blue Jays? Here's the thing, right? If you just look at the numbers, right? Just looking at the numbers, okay, yeah, you lost a shortstop that's pretty darn good here, but, that can be replaced. What can't be as easily replaced is the fact that he has been one of their stalwart guys. The fans have watched him essentially grow up with the team here, and now he's just gone. Don't get me wrong, this adds, a little bit more versatility for the lineup, so guys like Ernie Clement can get now more everyday playing time here. Andres Gimenez is going to be there again basically all the time now. But you still got to think that this is a deal where they were able to lock up Vladdy long term. Not being able to re-sign Bo, does that tell you that as a fan that either Bo did not want to be here, or did Bo not get the respect that he deserved by way of a contract by being there? What was the reason? That's what I think everyone wants to know, is why did Bo not resign here? And I don't think we're going to ever get an answer on it, because no one's going to say what the Blue Jays offer was unless it comes out in a later report. We now know what the Mets gave him. And you know what? Good on the Mets for sticking to their guns and making sure that we are going to be stronger this coming year, especially in what is now becoming one of the weirdest arms races in baseball here, where it is just who can build the biggest offensive machine here. And honestly, the NL has a lot of those good teams for that.
Yeah, the Bichette was strange to me. Of course, I'm all for screwing over the Phillies. Good job, Mets. Part of me wonders if Toronto really truly did want him back. And I didn't bring this up with Kyle Tucker, but the Cubs weren't super interested in bringing Tucker back.
It seemed like a foregone conclusion he was
gone. Yeah, and like we saw that breaking news, Cody Bellinger's back on the Yankees. That's the story the whole offseason. It's like Bellinger to the Yankees, Bellinger back in the Yankees, Bellinger does this with the Yankees, Bellinger that, everything, right? And the Red Sox, they were all over Alex Bregman, and then they're like, team policy, no trade clause for you, buddy. But the Blue Jays were kind of in this middle ground with Bichette that, yeah, they were, lurking with him, and the Blue Jays have spent a lot of money this offseason, so they were, kind of in the hunt, if you will. But I think the Blue Jays are kind of okay with saying, Bo Bichette, you were really good with us. You had a lot of good seasons. You were atrocious in 2024. But other than that, you had a 120 OPS plus every other season, which actually that's crazy that he did that. But at a 70 in 2024 is very reminiscent of 2020 Jose Altuve. But a guy that finished in the teens in MVP voting 4 times, the guy who led the majors or led the American League in hits twice, the guy who had a career 294 batting average with the Blue Jays. But I think they were okay with moving on and saying, okay, we have, Ernie Clement is not as good of a player as Bo Bichette, but you consider Andres Gimenez's shortstop defense and Clement's versatility and Addison Barger's versatility, and you still have Santander and Springer and Varsho, at least for this season. And you're like, okay, you can kind of fit the pieces, and you don't necessarily need Bo Bichette. So I wonder about that. And I do wonder, the Mets have kind of fluctuated. They've gone snip, snap on the whole defense and run prevention. Still waiting for them to do a pitcher, find a pitcher, sign a pitcher, trade for Freddie Peralta, whatever it may be. But they go out and get a former Gold Glover, or a current Gold Glover, Marcus Semien, to play second base. They just traded for a previous Gold Glover. We'll talk about that momentarily. But you have Jorge Polanco playing first base for the second time in his life, and Bo Bichette playing third base for the first time in his life. And yes, they're moving down the defensive spectrum, and you can anticipate that they are better at those positions than they would be in the middle of the infield. But it's still, if you are Nolan McLean, the God's gift to pitching, apparently, are you going to love having a guy playing his first few big league innings at third base when you start, when your first pitch to a right-handed hitter is yanked right to Bo Bichette, who's playing at a new position, and he's throwing over to a first baseman who has one big league inning at first? I don't know if you love that. Do you love that if you're Kodai Senga or one of the other veteran pitchers on the Mets? It's like, okay. Does that give you any pause, Mac?
Oh, trust me, it definitely does. But I think what I find encouraging is that I thought Bichette looked solid at second base. And third base, like I said, I mean, I think having a guy like Lindor who still has solid range at shortstop will help him there. I think having a good shortstop greatly helps ease a player into playing third base. And I remember the same could be said about third base and having a strong third baseman for a shortstop. I remember when Marcus Semien was in Oakland playing shortstop, he greatly benefited from having Matt Chapman playing third base. So yeah, I do have concerns about Bichette playing third, but I think it was Mike Petriello who tweeted it, that he had similar arm strength to Alex Bregman, who's a pretty well-regarded defensive third baseman. So he doesn't have great arm strength, but I think assuming his leg is healthy, I think he has enough athleticism to play third base, and I think he'll do all right there. And I'm going to answer Alex's question real quick, which is, I think Splash had the Blue Jays projected lineup on Fangraphs up. That's still a strong 1-9. I really thought once they signed Kazuma Okamoto, it seemed more and more likely they weren't bringing Bichette back. I think it's similar to what the Mets were doing with Pete Alonso, which is that they were sort of proceeding as if they weren't going to bring him back. They clearly value defense. You look at, they're putting Dalton Varsho in center field. He's a strong defender. You got Ernie Clement and Andres Jimenez, both vacuums up the middle. They just signed Okamoto. They have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's improved at first base. Like, this is still a solid 1-9 overall. And I'll answer XYZ Balling's question right here because I'm just going to segue us into the Luis Robert topic. I honestly think, this is a better offensive team. It's crazy to think about it, but I think they have made up for losing Alonso. They've definitely made up for losing McNeil and Nimmo, actually. Luis Robert, I understand he has not fully been healthy the last 2 years. But you look at his Savant page, still got crazy bat speed, still got great athleticism, great range. He can run fast. I think it's a low risk, high reward move. I know you're saying, how in the world is this low risk? Well, look at who they gave up. They gave up Luis Angel Acuna, who hit 0 home runs, didn't even barrel a ball in the majors last year. And Truman Pauly, who is intriguing arm straight out of Harvard last year. He has control problems, but he has an intriguing fastball. So he's not a bad prospect per se, but if that's all they had to give up, and I understand they took on the salary of Robert, I think Robert is definitely a change of scenery guy. I think getting off the White Sox is going to help him greatly. Look at what happened with Andrew Vaughn, with Michael Kopech, with Garrett Crochet. These guys all have broken out since leaving the South Side. So I think Robert is going to do just fine in New York. I don't necessarily need him to hit 30 home runs again, but I like this move a lot, actually.
So I'm going to be the contrarian on this one. I don't like the move for the Mets, personally. And that's honestly
comparing
just because
it to Tyrone Taylor playing center field every day. I mean, dude.
Look, here's my thing, right? I do think that the White Sox needed to trade Robert just because his value was only going down and down and down. I think Acuna's was higher, though. Like, my own personal opinion on that, because here's my thing when it comes to Robert. He is 27 years old. He has been playing since he was 22. In that span, he had a 1.9 WAR in 2020, which is very, very good. That's very good for the 60-game season. 3.7 WAR proved that he could do it. 2.2 WAR. I mean, he's still hurt a little bit from 2021. This should be fine, right? 2022. Okay, yeah. 2023. Oh, yeah, he's fine. He's doing fantastic. 5.3 WAR, baseball reference, by the way. Yeah. And he's an MVP candidate. He's an all-star Silver Slugger. And then just crashes down to earth. Here, 2024, a 1.4 WAR. And then a 1.4 WAR again in 2025. Here, he was honestly about average. In fact, probably a little bit below average the last couple of years here, according to Baseball Reference. And the thing that I've always worried about when it came to him is health and consistency. Well, the health, we've already seen. He's not played, like, aside from the 1 year in 2023 where he was healthy, he's not played more than 110 games, which for an outfielder, I want to see more. But I understand health. The second bit, though, is that he started out doing good, did good, got a little bit worse, absolutely exploded in 1 year, and then bad. And we're still treating him like he is this hot, like, prize to get here from the White Sox. And I don't see that here. I think that personally, Acuna, I like him a little bit more, but also I don't think that Robert is honestly worth that much. Here, his value was a lot higher in 2023, and the White Sox here are not. Don't get me wrong. I think the White Sox are adding because they are a young team, and Acuna is going to have like everyday playing time now. Here, but something about this just hurts. He's got good defense here, which, you know what, the Mets need the defense. Let's be real here on that. But the offense is what scares me here, and the fact that he has not been healthy. So
here's my thing is that Luis Angel Acuna between AAA and the majors last year, played in 123 games. He hit 0 home runs. His defense wasn't even that good. Like, he's a middle infielder. Like, honestly, I don't know if he's going to play every day in Chicago. Honestly, maybe they try him in center field. Maybe he plays every day in center field. But this
Maybe
is a guy
he does like
who's
his namesake and goes to the right field.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just not. You look at his numbers in the year before in AAA. He only had a 654 OPS in AAA in 2024. His stock plummeted kind of. And like, this is what I mean. I don't think the Mets gave up all that much to get Robert. Now, I share your concerns about his health and how his offense has dipped, but he did have a better second half. Not as great of a sample size, but his OPS was over 800 in the second half last year. So I just think the ceiling and floor are both higher for Robert compared to Acuna. And Acuna really didn't have a spot on the Mets roster. And I think this is a guy who definitely needs everyday playing time in order to succeed. And he wouldn't get that in New York. I think Robert, the other thing is that the White Sox have always had this sky high asking price for him. And the Mets finally because it felt like the last 3 years, like, oh, are the Mets going to trade for Robert? They finally did it, and they were able to get it to the point where the asking price wasn't that high.
Yeah.
I really don't like this trade for the White Sox, to be honest. Like, Acuna has some value in the utility mold, sort of the Jeff McNeely type that can play, both middle infield spots, can play center, can play the corners, can play third. But I just don't really see it. And even with Robert, and he has his issues. He's had an OPS plus in the 80s each of the last 2 seasons. Now, I will give him credit, cut the strikeout rate and increase the walk rate. That was one issue we've had with the Michael Harrises of the world, the Julio Rodriguez's of the world, the Jack Samaros of the world. Where are the walks? Well, Luis Robert had a 9% walk rate last year after having 4%, 4%, 5%, 6.5%. Okay, well, he walked and he struck out less than he did in 23 or 24. The quality of contact got worse, fewer line drives, a lower hard hit percentage than the rest of his career. The exit velocity was down from even 24 and down from 21 and down from 22. The same as 23, but his spray of fly ball or his spray of batted balls was not quite as consistent as it was in 2023. It's a move for the defense, and I think it balances out what you're doing with, well, the third base might be shaky and first base might be shaky, but Robert can defend center field. I don't have any issues there. And you get Nimmo out of left and you put him in Texas, so you don't have to worry about his defense falling down a cliff. And now you can put Tyrone Taylor, who is a good defensive player, in left, at least until Carson Benj comes up.
I was going to say, yeah.
Then you can roll the dice there. So to XYZ Ballin's question, I think the offense on paper at least was better last season. And you had a guy in Pete Alonso that, not to be the Jeff Fry, but RBI.
Yeah, he had
home runs,
126, right? Yeah.
41 doubles, 38 home runs, 126 RBI. I don't think you're getting that even in the aggregate. And Robert is a worse hitter than McNeil or Nimmo. Bichette is a good hitter. I will say 2024, alarmingly bad, but
he was also injured a lot of the
otherwise
year,
he's been good. And Polanco has his ebbs and flows. Felt like he was one of the leading podcast subjects at least 5 times this season. And then the rest of the season, he was garbage. It's like 1 month he's like God's gift to earth, and the next month he is Luis Angel Acuna, and then the next month he's Barry Bonds, and then the next month he's another Acuna brother that I don't know. I'm sure there's a third one.
Probably somewhere.
I'm sure. But I think offensively the Mets are probably better last year than this year. But that's on paper, and how can I put this? The Mets that annoy Spencer Strider are a good Mets team. Like, to put the ball in play.
This is my thought process.
Yes. The Jeff McNeil. I know McNeil's not on the roster, but when you emulate Jeff McNeil and all of you are just pests, 1 through 9, that gets on my nerves, and that could win some ball games. And Bichette is a player more like that. And Robert has big time power, and the walks are coming up. And Polanco is more of that kind of hitter than Pete Alonso, who can be sort of the reacher outcoming at times.
Yeah.
I will say that Polanco's strikeout rate is going to go up. He cut it basically in half from 29% to 15.5%, but his career rate's only 19%. And at times it's been 15%, 17%, 14% with Minnesota. It did jump up with Seattle last year in 24. So it'll come up from 15, but it should be lower than what Alonso would give you. So maybe your WRC plus is a little bit lower, but the pain in the buttocks quality is a little bit higher. And it reminds me of those early 2010s Mets teams, when McNeil was really cooking and Nimmo is always running to first
early
base.
2020s. Say the early 2010s Mets were really bad, other than R.A. Dickey.
I meant to say early 2020s.
R.A. Dickey and Matt Harvey.
It reminds me of like when Nimmo batted leadoff Mets. Those were like a pesky Mets team that were just annoying to face, annoying to watch, annoying to hate watch against. I'll put it that way.
I mean, so where was it? Oh, so I think part of the intrigue of getting Robert is also like I was saying about having a good defensive shortstop helping your third baseman. I don't see Tyrone Taylor as an everyday player, but Brett Beatty might be getting reps in left field. Carson Bench might be getting reps in left field. So I think having a guy who can cover a lot of ground like Robert, and look, Tyrone Taylor I thought was a pretty solid defensive center fielder too, but Robert's offensive ceiling is significantly higher. So yeah, I mean, I think overall it's not. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a complete game changer. Like, I don't know if it's enough to. Obviously, they're not going to sniff the Dodgers, right? Nobody's sniffing what the Dodgers are doing right now, but nobody
is smelling what
it's
what
a solid
the Dodgers
improvement.
are cooking. But yeah, I mean, I might as well give my answer to the question as well. I think they're going to be that they were better in 2025, although I can definitely be swayed the other way here. Like, I mean, it's just weird when you look.
What I'm thinking is the overall value of the position player group when you factor in defense is going to be they're going to have a higher group WAR than they did in 2025. On paper, the offense may have looked better entering 2025, but like when you put the whole equation together, fielding, base running, all that, I think this group is probably going to be the more productive group.
This is when I point out that I believe the first base coach for the Mets last year is now
Antoine Richardson's with the Braves. I understand.
Yes. So when Matt Olson steals 40 bases this year, bow freaking down. I hope the Braves steal 100 bases. I don't think they've done that in the last 10 years, unless Ronald steals 100 himself. Speaking of the Braves, and speaking of elite center field defense, we have two of the greatest center fielders of all time heading to the Hall of Fame. Carlos Beltrán on year 3 on the ballot, and Andrew Jones, I believe, in year 9. It was getting pretty dicey. It was getting pretty dicey in Braves land. Beltrán heads to the Hall. Congratulations, Mac. Andrew Jones heads to the Hall. Congratulations, Splash. Yes, I'm going to Ricky Henderson myself for a moment. Alex, as the one without a dog in the fight, other than hating Carlos Beltrán's guts for being on the 2017 Astros, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to leave any extra comment on Carlos Beltrán because I don't think he deserves it because of 2017. I'll leave it at that, especially considering the fact that he was one of the people that helped put it all together. Anyway, with that being said, here I'll talk about the center fielder that I really do like, and that's Andrew Jones. And I gotta commend you, Splash. Here, you have been part of the club saying he needs to be in the Hall for the better part of checks notes every year I've known you. And honestly, it's very well deserved. You take a look at the stat sheet here, and a career 62 WAR is dang good. An OPS plus career of 111 ain't bad at all. Here, 10 Gold Gloves, 5 All-Stars, a Silver Slugger. Here, when you think of defensive-minded center fielders, right, over the history of the game, there are guys like Willie Mays, right? There are guys like Ken Griffey Jr. There are guys like Torrey Hunter here. There are guys like all of these, and there's also Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones defensively was one of the most impressive center fielders that we've ever seen. Like, that's bar none. And with the bat in his hand was also really, really good. There was a long stretch where he was well above average in every single year. Like, there's only a few years where that is not the case here, but he's finished in the MVP conversation multiple times here. He's finished as a runner-up in 2005 here. He is legitimately just one of the best defensive-minded, but also still offensively gifted players that we've seen. And the fact that he made it into the Hall of Fame is something, honestly, at this point, to celebrate here. This is a guy that honestly deserves it here. 2 center fielders making it in. One I am acknowledging, the other I will not here for very obvious reasons. So,
well, I'm going to acknowledge both of them if you don't mind.
I know you are. I know you are. I'm just going to be here.
All right. Well, I think it's fitting that these two go in the same year because they were the 2 best center fielders in the 2000s, and they were division rivals. I watched plenty of these 2 guys. Carlos Beltrán was the best player on the best Mets team of my lifetime. The 2006 Mets, who, to my knowledge, were not sign stealing, or else Beltrán would have swung at that curveball. Anyway, but you know, I mean, you look at his career, over 400 home runs, career, if you wouldn't believe it, 86% stolen base conversion rate, which is the highest, which is actually the best of all time. I forget the exact number of attempts you have to have, but over 300 steals, 565 career doubles, 70 baseball reference WAR, strong switch hitter. And if you wouldn't believe it, these 2 are only the 3rd and 4th primary center fielders to make it into the Hall of Fame since 1981. Both these guys played great defense. Were great hitters, had great speed. They were both 5-tool players. Andrew Jones, in 12 years in Atlanta, and I guess we can include that cup of coffee in 1996, put up 61 baseball reference WAR in 12 years. Hit 368 home runs. That's averaging 30 home runs a year and about 5 baseball reference WAR per year. So, I mean, these 2 guys at their peak were the 2 best center fielders in baseball. I know that Jones had an unforgiving downfall, you know, the second he signed with the Dodgers for some reason, but, you know, these 2 guys fully deserve it, I think. I know people are saying, all right, yeah, Beltrán was part of that sign stealing scandal in 2017. And I'll say this much, Carlos Beltrán actually served a punishment for that. He's the only player who got punished for the sign stealing scandal. He took his punishment. I think now it's time to let him in. He also lost a managerial job because of it. Anyway, I hope the Mets retire his number next. He deserves it. Number 15 should be hung in the rafters, but I think both these guys fully deserve their praise getting that call to Cooperstown. And like I said earlier, I think it's really fitting these 2 go into the Hall the same year.
It's actually really fitting here. You bring up the number retirement here. They actually had already announced it, but apparently the announcement was found in a trash can. So I don't know.
Okay.
Wow.
Fellas, I have a take.
Great.
Andrew Jones is the number 1 outfielder by defensive runs saved ever, and every outfielder fielding metric you can find. My take is it actually undersold how good he was. His ability to play shallow and still get to every ball hit over his head and every ball hit into either gap not only helped him out and not only helped out the pitchers, it helped out the left fielder, whether that be Chipper Jones at times, whether that be Matt Diaz, shout out to my mother, whoever that may be in left, whoever that may be in right. It helped them out too because they can play down the lines. And that in turns helps out the pitcher that Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, you've heard of them. They're all in the Hall of Fame. We can talk about the 96 and 97 Braves, hopefully when Kenny Lofton gets into the Hall of Fame at some point. It helps everyone on the team when Andrew Jones is the living embodiment of 2/3 of the world is covered by water. The other third is covered by insert player. At times it was Lorenzo Cain. At times it was Ed Reed. At times it was always Andrew Jones. And his ability to patrol all of that ground at the TED helped left field, right field. And when you're Glavine or Smoltz or Maddox and you get those annoying little flares down the left field line or flares down the right field line, Andrew Jones, his ability to play center field made those plays for the left fielder and the right fielder. They could do a Nick Castellanos and just run right towards the line. And the Phillies fans will know there was only one way that Nick Castellanos had good defensive metrics, and that was coming in right at this one direction. And Brandon Marsh played so shaded one way that the only thing Castellanos could do is run straight forward to those baseballs. Andrew Jones said, all right, I'm going to do that not only for my right fielder, but also for my left fielder. And I'm going to make my shortstop's job easier and my second baseman's job easier, third base, first base, catcher. Truly the greatest of all time. Even Willie Mays, the greatest center fielder to ever live, said Andrew Jones is the GOAT defensively. And consider for a moment, he had 434 home runs too. He was a plus at the stick. He was a good base runner at times. I know he hit 254. I know he doesn't have 2,000 hits. I don't really care. When you are in as big of a group as center fielders and you are the best defensively, it's clear. You should be in the Hall of Fame. The best defensive player at every other position besides left field, because Barry Bonds is steroids, and Keith Hernandez should be in the Hall of Fame. The best defensive player at every other position is in the Hall of Fame. Roberto Clemente is in the Hall of Fame. Before Andrew, Willie Mays was in the Hall of Fame, or Tris Speaker, if you're of that ilk. Brooks Robinson is in the Hall of Fame. Adrian Beltre, if you're of that ilk, is in the Hall of Fame. Nolan Arenado will be a Hall of Famer. Ozzie Smith at shortstop is a Hall of Famer. Bill Mazeroski is a Hall of Famer at second base, or Frankie Frisch, or Roberto Alomar, whoever you want to put at second base. Catcher, whether it's Yogi Berra or Pudge Rodriguez, or Yadier Molina is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer here in a couple years, or even Buster freaking Posey should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He will be.
Yeah, I would put him in mind. When you are that great at such a massive category of the game, half of the baseball game, you are not swinging the bat. You are in the field. That is half of your job. And Andrew Jones is the greatest to ever do it, not just in center field, the entire outfield. And there's an argument he is the greatest defensive player in the history of Major League Baseball. He should have been in the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. The only thing you could possibly knock him is the domestic violence charge. If you did not vote for him because of that, I'm not going to argue with you. That is your own volition. I think it's the Baseball Hall of Fame, not the Character Clause Hall of Fame. That's the only black mark on the career. The greatest defensive outfielder of all time. Thank you. Justice has been served. He is heading to Cooperstown at long last. At one point, 93% of voters said, he's not a Hall of Famer. That is a preposterous statement. And that was a wrong statement. And 8 years later, over 75% of the balloters, over 75% of the voters said, yep, he's a Hall of Famer. So I would like to go to his Hall of Fame induction ceremony this summer. Maybe I can do that, maybe not. Congratulations to the GOAT.
Yeah, I was really hoping to go this year, but fortunately it falls on a weekend where one of my good friends is getting married in the Dominican Republic. So I unfortunately won't be able to go. I was really hoping to go to the Ichiro one this past summer. Again, didn't really work out logistically. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's these two guys and obviously Jeff Kent. I mean, it's. I think it's gonna be great. I'm sure it'll be a great ceremony, and I'm just glad that like you were saying. I mean, even as a rival fan, I thought Andrew Jones should have been a Hall of Famer a long time ago. I was encouraged by the increases over the years. I still wasn't sure if he was gonna get to the finish line this year, but it felt like if these two guys weren't going to get in this year, I wasn't sure if they would get in, considering the weak class of newcomers. So yeah, I think justice was served.
And I do want to talk about Carlos Beltrán for a moment. If you haven't read any literature about Carlos Beltrán as a Kansas City Royal, I encourage you. This is an organization. I've actually made this point on a previous podcast, so bear with me. This is an organization that previously employed Bo Jackson and Carlos Beltrán was basically doing the same sorts of things that Bo Jackson did with the Royals, except he didn't just do it for one All-Star game or a game here or a game there. He did it for 2 decades. He did it in the playoffs with the 04 Astros, one of the greatest runs of all time. He did it for the 06 Mets. He did it for the Cardinals. He did it for the Giants. He did it for the Yankees. He did it not really with the Astros. The second time he was kind of garbage with them, which is ironic given that actually I'm totally ironic saying I used the word garbage, but
that was a good one.
I didn't think about that. But like Carlos Beltrán looked like a Hall of Famer. He looked like a 5-tool player. He was sensational. Andrew Jones, maybe not 5 tools, but the hit tool was good enough. The power tool was good enough. And he's the greatest defensive player, greatest defensive outfielder of all time. So I think 2 entirely deserving candidates. I'm glad the voters got it right this year. We'll probably save the Felix and Cole Hamels and other discussions for a later date because we're kind of droning on a little bit here. But congratulations to Carlos Beltrán and Andrew Jones.
Hey, real quick, I do have a little bit of breaking news that I just gotten word of. Nothing is official yet, but the Mets are reportedly in talks to acquire Freddie Peralta from the Brewers.
Darn it.
Jet Williams supposedly would be going to Milwaukee. Obviously, I don't think we have time to do a full discussion on this, but just wanted to put it out there. It looks like we're getting more news tonight.
I said that earlier in the podcast. So if you're listening on the YouTube, go ahead and follow us because I am Nostradamus.
Yeah, you are.
He's on like an $8 million deal. Like, how do you keep getting away with it? Man, anyone could have traded for Freddie Peralta if they could match the prospect capital. Although I will say the Mets have a pretty loaded farm system according to all the leading pipeline and whatnot.
They can afford to trade Williams. They have AJ Ewing and all Jacob Reimer. Like they have so many guys in the farm system. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine if you told a 2023 Mets fan that you're trading Luis Angel Acuna and Jet Williams. They'd be quite sad.
Riots.
Although you did acquire Angel Acuna or Luis Angel Acuna in the Scherzer trade, correct?
Yeah, it was a 1-for-1 swap.
Okay.
And then they got Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford for Verlander. They flipped Gilbert for Tyler Rogers this year, and then Clifford could be in the majors like later this year.
Man, Drew
assuming
Gilbert
he's not in this trade.
Fair.
Well, that'd be funny at this point.
All right, fellas, anything you want to say before we wrap it up and then report again?
Yeah. As I said, do we want to do the moment to ourselves at this point here? Or do I?
I would like to go first.
Right
that's
now.
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it, my man.
All right.
All right. Time begins in 3, 2, 1. Begin.
I'm going to break tradition. I'm actually not going to crap all over Josh Allen for an atrocious playoff game that he turned the ball over 4 times, including the worst turnover I've ever seen a player have. I'm going to praise the NFL because their overtime rules are bangers. You can do a mathematical formula and come to the conclusion that going first in overtime is the smart thing to do. You can make a mathematical formula. Smart people can make a mathematical formula and come to the conclusion that going second is the smart thing to do. I think that is perfect, and that's exactly how overtime should be. It's not just a simple coin toss and a 50-50 proposition. It's actual strategy. If you go first, you have the trump card of the third possession is yours. So in a situation that you are 0-0 or 3-3 or 6-6 or 7-7 or 8-8, you have the advantage. You have an overwhelming advantage on the third possession. But if you go second, not only do you know what the opponent can do, or what the opponent did, so you only have to one-up that. You can go 3-0 or 6-3 or 7-6 or 8-7 like the Seahawks did against the Rams a few weeks ago. And that is such a fun element of chess that these coaches have to play with each other that if you are Kyle Shanahan in the Super Bowl, you're like, do I want to go get the ball first and know that if we have a third possession, we have the massive advantage? Or do you want to play back and say, we will either hold the other team and then can beat them on the second possession, or they score a touchdown and we'll go for 2 and get the win, like Mike McDonald did against the Rams a couple weeks ago. Also, still sad that Mike McDonald is not a Ravens head coach right now, but that I digress. The NFL, you truly cooked with this. Josh Allen is 0-7 in the playoff, or 0-7 in overtime games, by the way. You cooked. This is exactly how it's meant to be. There are reasonable arguments to go first. There are reasonable arguments to go second. I think we will see a lot of fun games, whether that's winning on the third possession, as Denver did the other day, winning on the second possession, as Seattle did a couple weeks ago. It's all fun. It's all great. Good job, NFL.
Yeah, I've actually enjoyed watching these NFL playoffs despite how poorly my team did. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the only overtime game of the playoff. No. Bears Rams is also overtime.
Yeah. Good job, Caleb.
I was gonna say that game was also sick, but I also agree with your points about the whole possession thing in overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
All right, Alex.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
All right, I will talk about football as well. Seahawks football is really fun right now. just the last time that Seattle had made it this far was 2014, and getting to see all this happen again in real time has been honestly really, really cool. Here, man, it feels weird trying to say anything about it now at this point, because what more is there to say? Like, Seattle has proven everyone wrong from the word go, where a lot of analysts thought that Seattle would be lucky to finish third in the NFC West. And now more and more people are saying that they are the undisputed best team in the NFL at the moment. I'm not sure how much I fully agree with that. I just want to see them play well here. But one thing I find so interesting here is that there are 4 different Super Bowl potential matchups, and 3 of them are repeats here, which I find interesting here. On the NFC side here of things, Seattle v. Rams. Seattle has played in Super Bowls in consecutive years against the Broncos and against the Patriots. And then the Rams, of course, famously played the Patriots in that one, which some guy named Tam Birdie got a Super Bowl ring against Kurt Warner. No, wonder who that is. But the Rams have not played against the Broncos in the Super Bowl, to my knowledge. But regardless here, one of the most interesting things I want to bring up, though, for just a moment, is the Bo Nix injury here for the Broncos, because I understand how late it looked. Here, again, how late it was. It was on the second to last play. On the very last play, he threw a dime to get them within field goal range. But something about it still just doesn't sit right with me. No one said anything. No one, not even him, after the adrenaline had potentially worn off a bit here. The coach didn't even say anything in his first press conference. And then just out of nowhere goes, oh, by the way, Bo Nix is hurt. We're starting Stidham. Like, what? Like, in our group chat, I was like, what are you talking about? There's no news on this yet. And it took a while for the news to break. And I'm like, huh? Even if go back and watch the play. Go back and watch the play. There's only a slight moment in which Bo Nix even remotely looks hurt here after the play that he supposedly got injured on. I'm not calling foul. I want to be very clear. I'm not calling foul on anything. It just feels a little weird.
I can actually read the text messages. I said at 9:15, Nick's out for the season. Max said, huh? I said broken ankle. Alex said source. I said Rap, Schefter, underdog, sleeper. Pelissero just said Stidham will start next week. Alex said, when did this happen? Did he play the game with this? Then Max said he looked fine in his post-game interview. Then
Exactly.
I said second to last play, according to Rap. Then I posted the Pellicero tweet. Oh, and then shout out to Eddie Pinheiro, who tried to slide tackle Rashid Shaheed.
That was wild. Yeah. Bro, do you forget what sport he was playing?
Okay, honestly, if he had made contact, that should have been considered a palpably unfair act and given Shaheed the touchdown. Also, Jacoby Jones, Mike Tomlin, that was also a palpably unfair act, and Tomlin should have been fired that day for that shenanigans right there. But I digress.
By the way, Rashid Shaheed, the absolute GOAT. Just going to say that.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable.
12.5 seconds into the game.
Yeah.
That's that is a great trade deadline acquisition.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Usually wide receiver acquisitions at the deadline don't work. Amari Cooper, for example, last year to Buffalo. But this one has worked swimmingly. I was high on the Seahawks.
Yeah. I want to point out two things here. The last two trade deadline deals that Seattle made over the last 2 years, Rashid Shaheed and I just lost his name. The linebacker, Ernest
Jones.
Ernest Jones, thank you.
Yeah.
And both of them are now very prominent starters on the team. So
yes,
good job.
Even back in for the 2013 Seahawks when you traded for Percy Harvin, that worked.
Yep.
He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, Alex.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything all year because he was hurt.
He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
You said 3 first-round draft picks for him.
He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. That you won.
That was a kick return touchdown when we were already up.
I mean, honestly, kick return touchdown in the Super Bowl is pretty dope.
It's hype as heck.
He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
I mean, if you're going to say that thing, then are you going to say that what was his name? I just lost it. The linebacker that got a pick 6 return touchdown is like the guy, right?
You mean
he
the
did win
Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah.
Malcolm Smith,
Super
Bowl MVP?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he was important to that game.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I love him. I really like Malcolm Smith. He caught a tipped pass and had nobody in front of him.
Yes, that was a little circumstantial, but he did have the interception that ended the NFC title game too.
Yes, after it was tipped by Richard Sherman to him, directly to him, in fact, and then was told to kneel down in the end zone so you don't accidentally let your emotions get ahead of you and try to return it.
That would be hilarious. I will say I was higher on the Seahawks than most. I did kind of have the Cardinals finishing ahead of them in the division, but I told Alex early in the season that they were a team that could win the Super Bowl, and Alex was like, So I just want to throw that out there. The Cardinals and Raiders went 3-14. I had both of them in the playoffs this season.
Oh, man.
I mean, not only that, but now the Raiders don't even have their coach.
Yeah.
Again.
To my credit, I said the Week 18 game wouldn't matter for the Chiefs, so the Raiders would beat them. Unfortunately, for the Chiefs, it didn't matter because they sucked. Not it didn't matter because they had the 1 seed locked up.
Yeah.
All right.
They were down to their 8th string quarterback at this point.
Chris Oladokun.
Right.
Steelers draft pick, by the way. Good job to Kevin Colbert.
Although, still, Gardner Minshew, the GOAT, I refuse to elaborate.
Until Derwin James says hello. All right, Mac, it is your turn, my friend.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the guy who's going to play for the Raiders next year, Fernando Mendoza. That was awesome. Shout out to the Hoosiers. As you guys know, my brother went to IU. The 5 years he was in school there, they won 17 total games. They won 16 games this year. So I think it's great. Also, multiple guys on IU said that they were rejected by the Miami football team, including Mendoza, and they went out there and stuck it to them. Carson Beck can finally maybe try to play pro football. Who knows? Yeah, it's pretty awesome. A little disappointed Alberto Mendoza won't be following Fernando's footsteps at IU, but that was really cool. They fully deserve it. Last year they were talked about as like a fake playoff team, but this year they were the best team in the country from the start. So really, really exciting stuff. I thought the game was also way more exciting than I expected it to be. So I thoroughly enjoyed watching that. And curious to see what Kurt Signetti has in store for next year.
Counter, the first play of the season was the worst play of the
that's
season.
Right. Yeah, that was they started by giving up
play of the season on. They were the best team.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, the Mendoza touchdown at the end of the game was just unbelievable.
Oh my god, that was insane.
Just like the guts to do that in that situation when Miami is done pretty well against the run the whole game, but what a season. And I have one iota of pushback when we're like, oh, this is the greatest season of all time. I will say they did start ranked. This is less of a Leicester City situation and more of like they were ranked, but the 2-year turnaround is unprecedented. You could try this in a video game, like highest difficulty, yada, 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 as virtually impossible to do. And this was not just like a mediocre team. This is not like the 99 Rams. The Rams had like been to a Super Bowl before. The Rams had been a good organization at times. Indiana football hadn't won anything. They won more bowl games this bowl season. They had as many bowl wins this bowl season as they had in their entire program history before this season. They last won a bowl game, I believe, when H.W. Bush was in office. They hadn't been to the Rose Bowl since 1968, and the Big Ten has a Rose Bowl tie-in. Even Northwestern has been to a Rose Bowl. Oregon played in the Rose Bowl last year as a Big Ten school and as a Pac-12 school in previous iterations. Not to pick on Alex, but as new Pac-12 rivals, Washington State made a Rose Bowl. Go Boise State. So Indiana, an unbelievable season. And now they're off the bottom of the mat in terms of having the lowest winning percentage among Power 4 teams. So any other words before we wrap it up, fellas?
I think we're good to go. Make sure that you go and find our secret episode we're going to be recording. Going to be doing our second baseman rankings as well as trivia.
Yes. All right. Well, make sure you drop a like, drop a sub on YouTube, comment. Shout out to XYZ Ballin for supplying some questions today. You can supply questions as well. You can follow us at LAR_baseball on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow Alex at TheSportsGuy242. You can follow Mac at Matthias_A_K. And you can follow yours truly at Depressed, actually at Mr. Splashman19. We might talk about the Ha-Sung Kim deal, the Ha-Sung Kim injury, slipping on ice, and breaking his finger or breaking a tendon in his finger. We might talk about that in the second baseman rankings, former second baseman Ha-Sung Kim. But with that said, thank you for watching, and we will see you actually in a few minutes. Peace.
Go!